everyone. It's a pleasure coming back from CXO Digital Pulse with one more very interesting episode of conversation around business and technology and its convergence. Pleased to introduce Mudit Jain, Head of Asia Pacific Pre-Sales, SADA and Insight Company. Welcome Mudit to the conversation, and just a quick introduction about Mudit. He's been leading pre-sales and sales engineering across diverse industry verticals, covering a broad spectrum of technologies including cloud, cybersecurity, and now more interestingly on artificial intelligence and machine learning, and helping customers adopt, embrace these cutting-edge technologies for their business success, for addressing their customers more effectively with bigger impact and scale. So today I think I'm so very privileged to moderate this conversation with Mudit on powering businesses with agility, with insights for sustained innovation and success, right? So Mudit, welcome, and
thank you.
I think to begin with, I would want to pick up this topic of business agility and to set the context of where my question comes from. If you see the world globally at a macro level, there are increasing geopolitical disturbances, there are supply chain disruptions, there are economic headwinds, certain geographies are sort of challenged with sustained growth on the economy, on the workforce side. Some economies like India luckily are far more resilient, and we've got a very strong domestic demand which is fueling our growth very sharply as compared to others.
Yes.
So in context of this very dynamic, unpredictable volatility, how do you see business agility is emerging as a critical success factor, and how is SADA helping customers achieve business agility to overcome or neutralize some of these unpredictable headwinds?
So there are changes happening in every single possible direction. Like there is no possible direction where we can say it's stable, it's as it was like 10 years back. There are some horizontal changes happening, there are some vertical changes happening. So for us it is absolutely important to stay relevant to the customers. While customers are going through these, these changes, if we are not relevant to them, they have to move on. Otherwise it doesn't make business sense for them. Now, in order to do that, we have to ensure that we are aligned both horizontal solutions and vertical solutions. Horizontal solutions are very straightforward, call center AI, other stuff like Gen AI, chatbot, enterprise search, all of this is very standard. The way we do support these changes for our customers is by ensuring that we become patient zero. Mm-hmm. So anything that comes up new, we will definitely try it on ourselves first. So we did our own enterprise search first, we did our own chatbot first. So that is very important to be able to build that confidence internally, and while customers are going through that journey, to be able to give them guidance on what is the risk involved in taking this journey, what is the ROI, what is the latency to ROI, how much time it will take to realize that ROI. And that is the important role that, of course we do the other things, the standard recommendations, suggestions, implementation, that's all standard. But where we additionally add value is where we have this experience because we have done it first. And because of our close relationship with Google, we get a lot of these, we get into a lot of these situations. We get lucky that way. The other thing that we are very cognizant of it is the events are not only geopolitical and regionalized, there are global events. For example, COVID. So for example, Georgia state passed a law that they have to create a situation that will allow medical cannabis. Mm-hmm. And 19 days I think after that law getting passed and the organization getting formed, COVID hit. So because we had tried it on ourselves, we went in and said 80% of your work, or whatever that large portion of your work, which is handling the consumers, and these are medical situations, right? Some of these are very severe illness, some of them are terminal illness. So we went in and said, we can do call center AI with you, we can create chatbots for you. And that was highly appreciated. Of course, we are doing much more work there. The third thing we do is, so one is horizontal, one is vertical. And the third thing we do is, we have to ensure that we are very agile in terms of our engagement as well. So when we do innovative work, there is no way for us to say, when I put water into this, this will grow exactly this much. So we have to be very, very agile in terms of our engagement as well, very flexible. That's what we also try to do. We are still working on fixed SOWs and all of those work, but we still try to be very, very, we have built our own models where customers can consume very flexible interactions. So that's how we manage it.
Brilliant. I think you have summarized it really well. And then, so moving forward from this whole sort of baselining of business agility and powering customers with a foundation as well as the technology layers that's needed to build this business agility and that composability factor of businesses which you empower with to help them deal better or smarter or with more agility with the global disturbances. Let's shift our focus on this concept of insights, and because SADA has a tagline about being an insights company, so I wanted to sort of request you to let our users know a bit about how to approach this whole capability of developing and building this ability to connect the dots. And I'll take two perspectives here. It is possibly easier for us to guide or empower a digital native business organization build insights because their baseline is fundamentally digital native. Because everything is on digital, it is still easier for you to navigate, consolidate, and then look at a single pane of glass and analyze that single source of truth in whatever ways and forms you want to infer on. Tougher for a traditional business because there are a lot of silos and there is a mix of manual processes versus digitally automated processes, and there are a lot of heterogeneous silos of technologies, people, process, everything coexisting. So how do you help customers in both these spheres, digital native as well as traditional, empower them to be able to navigate this insights journey?
Yes, very rightly said. The other complication that comes with, I just want to go one level deeper on that. The other complication that comes with partners like ourselves, the service providers like ourselves, is at times we have to learn from the customer to understand the sometimes regulatory requirements, sometimes business traditional requirements. If there's a certain business that is done in a traditional way, you just can't go and interrupt that. So there is a lot of learning when it comes to traditional businesses, but I'll go to that a minute later. I think for digital natives, it has been very successful journey for us in two parts. One, of course, they want to see their data. And this is all technical solutions. But just to be able to say, let's put all the data in one place and then we'll put dashboards, it doesn't work. It does not work that way. So, not always. Of course, sometimes it works. And the complexity of doing that is also not very straightforward. It's pretty complex at times. The data are in different silos, the connectivity problems, regionalization, formats are different, even identifiers are different. So there's a whole lot of things that goes into it. But that's where we shine. So with Google, SADA has been doing a lot of digital transformations for our customers, especially around data. So we have navigated through this so many times that we can very confidently go in and do consulting work. There is an angle of, you come and do X, Y, and Z, and of course we do that. But to be able to say X is in a different language, Y is in a different language, and Z is in a completely different language, have you handled it? Most likely we have. And so the experience plays there. That's what has been very helpful to us. The other type of information that is very, very helpful for the customer is, one is about their own data. Second is about the industry information. And that comes in very, very handy because we are a global company. We know the trends happening in the United States. We know the trends happening in Canada or multiple other countries, Europe, for example, right? Or multiple different places. And we internally maintain industry vertical leaderships. So these are the people who have spent time in these industries for 15, 20, 25 years. So they know what is changing, how fast this is changing, how much to adopt, how much to do try and error. So when we go to a customer, go to a customer with certain level of experience. We just don't go and say, we'll just do X, Y, and Z and it'll come out and it'll happen and you'll have all flowers and balloons and all. It doesn't work that way. So we go with that experience and that really helps. The third thing that is very important in both traditional and digital is we are brutally honest. So if a customer says we want to do this, we are happy to do it, of course. But we'll be brutally honest and we'll clearly, as I was saying earlier, we'll clearly call out these are the risks involved, this is the ROI, this is the ROI delay that you should expect, and we'll continuously go through that cycle. And that flexible engagement model obviously helps here as well. For traditional businesses, it's a very different ballgame. So for traditional business, of course, we do a lot of business with traditional customers as well. For example, healthcare. So there's a healthcare company. They have all these healthcare professionals who are taking care of the patients. To be able to do a roster of all the people, do a shift allocation for these many people, is obviously a very rule-based engine, traditional engine. There is no human factor. There is no feedback system. And I'm not saying anything bad about it, but it's just robust software. And these people had to spend time on the software instead of patients, what they were trained for. That's where we came in and we said, let's see if Gen AI can do this for you. And we were able to transform it. So much so that the customer is very much interested, not the specific customer, but generally this is a very important factor for that business to ensure that the people who are trained for that particular job should be investing time in doing that job, not playing with software, not struggling with the software. So that is one example where we were able to do. But yeah, of course, in traditional businesses, there's a lot to learn. If you go to a generic medicine producing company and you ask them to put cameras, they're not going to do it because to put one hole in one ceiling, they have to stop the factory for 2 days to recertify it for cleanup. So it's a complex business, but yes, we have been very lucky. Customers have trusted us. They teach us, and we are very happy to learn, obviously.
Okay, I think what I truly resonate is the trusted advisory part, which you've been mentioning about. I think that helps in truly building sustainable, deep relationship with customers, and you sort of co-create together what is the right thing to be done for their businesses, their customers, and their future growth. And you touched upon the topic of AI and generative AI, and you read my mind as to what I was planning to ask you next. So seizing on the disruptive promise of generative AI, how do you see SADA's role in enabling customers? And again, I'll set a little context about what I hear from CIOs. All of them, not only CIOs, the board, the CEOs as well, realize that it is something that they have to embrace and adopt, otherwise they put their survival at risk. But having said that, how do they sort of break down this journey into actionable and measurable steps of implementation, execution, testing, failing, learning, and then scaling once they feel the ROI is proven and justified, and then do the resourcing in terms of budgeting, in terms of people, in terms of cultural reorientation. So guide us a little bit to our audience as to how SADA and Google Cloud together helps customers put generative AI into action in a modular yet interconnected manner.
Yeah, I 100% agree on what you said earlier. It's not only about doing the tech. To be able to culturally adopt it, it's a very different ballgame. So far, because I think this is because of marketing and the people, early adopters showing the benefits, generative AI, people are welcoming this with open arms. Not like the earlier, all the other big shifts that are happening in our industry right now, cryptocurrencies or other things that are happening in our industry, driverless cars. People are not as adaptive to those things. And I'm not going to comment on that, but generally saying. So, what I've come to realize is there is a role for us to play, and the role is very, very, at least in my mind, it is very clear. Everybody wants to do everything, and of course they should, but there are times where we have to go in and very clearly call out. Sorry, I should have disconnected this. Okay, so there are times when we have to go in and say, does it make sense to build, or is it better for you to buy this particular component? Because this might not be your primary business. Call center AI, everybody can make it, yes, but should you make it? Probably not. ServiceNow, it's a software, everybody can make it, but should you make it? No. So we have to go in and help customers make those decisions. That's the first part. Second part is, at the base of generative AI or a contextualized generative AI is ultimately consumable data.
Correct.
So if we are not able to produce the quality of data that can be used to consume the contextualized generation of whatever is being generated. It can be media, it can be just text, emails, whatnot, right? But this has to be contextualized, and that's where we shine, because we have done this so many times over, and because this data part is very, very complex. It's no more relational databases. It's no more structured databases. Correct. There are images, there are videos, there's everything under the sun. Google has been building great technology around data, and more importantly, Google has been building modular technology around data, which means you can have search and conversations grounded to a generative AI, and you don't even have to know how generative AI works. Like literally no knowledge of it. All you have to do is submit your PDF with FAQs in a particular format, put it in, and it will automatically learn, and you put the model and you create a chatbot. That's really it. But to be able to go to a customer and say in which particular case it will make sense for you to tune the model, or where would it make sense to do your own vector database, or where would it make sense to use a pre-built system, that's the role that we have to play. And that only comes with the experience, the global experience that we have got. The other thing that is very important is, and I think Google has done extremely good there, is the privacy of the customer's data and the responsible AI. Those are very, very important things. As in when we grow, at least in my mind, I think at some point we'll have to put, maybe not regulations, but some controls to say, these are the things that we cannot cross. For example, image generation, absolutely. Why not? Do media image generation, why not? But should it go into, content which is not consumable by public, adult content? Absolutely not. How do you control that? That is the responsible AI part that is very, very important, and Google has done absolutely fantastic there. And we are of course supporting the same journey.
Fantastic. I think I sense that you are able to read my mind ahead of my questions, and I was so before we wrap up, I think a cloud and AI discussion will not be complete without talking about privacy, security, resilience, and regulatory compliance, right?
Yes.
So, and keeping more so the data protection, data privacy sort of law, or which is evolving or emerging as a law sometime very soon in India.
Yeah.
So again, how in this space SADA is reinforcing, empowering customers, because the attackers, the threat actors are equally leveraging AI and the sort of disruptive powers of AI to penetrate and find gaps to penetrate, right? So how do we outsmart them, and how do we still use AI for good and sort of drive progress of businesses?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, very good question. 100% spot on. There is no way you can go on using machines to generate and not control, first of all, the privacy, or go beyond the boundaries of regulations that are in place for good reasons. Mostly good reasons. There are legacy regulations, and that's what I don't agree with, but generally I do. My point being, the way we do it is, there are three different components in my head. One, Google has built their own security system over so many years, decades, right? And they have successfully done it layer by layer, and multiple layers of security. They have built extremely good security services. With that said, a lot of this is now public to usable by the customers. Where we come in as SADA is, we create these security, we reuse these security layers built by Google and partners, and we put it for our large enterprise customers. And this is very straightforward thing. What we additionally do, and I think is equally important, is we do the same level of security for a startup. Mm-hmm. And that is very, very important. The startup has the same data. If my data is with a large bank, and if my data is with a small app, it's still my PII data. If I lose the same data, whether it is with a large bank or whether it's a startup. So it's very important for the consumer to ensure that he gets the same level of security. That's where we shine, because these startups cannot maintain that level of security teams because of the budget constraints. They're still building the product. There's a whole lot of journey that is happening. That is where we come in. So we do the same level of security for our enterprise as well as the startup customers. That's one important part. I think the second important part is about privacy. Mm-hmm. A lot of regulation that we talk about privacy is absolutely required. There are geopolitical issues. There are many, many different reasons because of which this is important. Let me give you one example. So there is this one emotional robot that is built by a company, and this is for children with social anxiety sort of situations, medically approved. But this is a robot company built by people who are experienced in doing development of, kids at some risk spectrum or whatever. In this situation, to be able to ensure that the privacy of that user, which is a kid, is very, very, very important. Equally important than saving my personal credit card number on internet. And there's a lot of work that we did with them, and we ultimately were able to come up with a solution where the only person who has that key is his father or his mother, his parent. Like, even the company cannot go and look into the data. So that's the level of privacy, and this is going very, very personal. Privacy is not no more, public, national news thing. It's a very private thing.
Correct.
It is. So that's what we are working on. There are many different aspects to security and privacy, but in my head, the biggest two things is, one, obviously, to be able to be very, very cautious of me losing my date of birth or my credit card information, either with a small company or with a bank, is the same loss for me. So we have to be very, very cognizant of what the consumer is going to lose.
True.
So we have to give the same level of security as far as the customers can support. And the second being, we have to be very, very humanized in terms of when we think about security, because this is actually impacting real lives.
True.
So that's what we try to concentrate on. Of course, there are a lot of security services, SIEMs, SIM, SOC solutions, and we do all of that, but that's technology interface of it. Ultimately, it's about humans.
Fantastic. I think Mudit Jain, APAC pre-sales head of SADA and Insights company and a true partner of Google Cloud. Thank you for bringing in these golden nuggets of wisdom in a short span of time. SADA is helping customers brilliantly sort of seize technology, seize cloud, seize AI, seize data monetization to sort of leapfrog in their pursuit and journey of sort of business excellence and progress towards serving their customers even more better. And I think the best part I take away from SADA is about their very honest and sincere approach of being the trusted advisor for their customers. I think that is what is the secret sauce of their success, and I truly wish SADA continued success, Mudit, and likewise to yourself.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for enriching this episode of CXO Digital Pulse Conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you
you
very much.